The vast, dimly lit council chamber was filled with the intimidating figures of the Galactic Empire's most powerful leaders. The air was thick with pride, arrogance, and the sense that nothing in the galaxy could stand against their might. In the center of the room, a long table stretched out, surrounded by the Empire's high-ranking officials, each one more important than the last. At the head of the table sat General Tarlan, the Empire's most respected officer, a man whose name alone struck fear into the hearts of any who heard it. He was a towering figure, his sharp eyes scanning the room with authority. On the other side of the table, Earth's representatives sat, visibly out of place among the advanced alien species of the Empire. Humans, with their humble appearances and seemingly outdated technology, were clearly the odd ones out. They were a far cry from the glittering, technologically superior beings that made up the Empire. Still, the humans sat there silently, confident in the knowledge that they were playing their cards close to the chest. General Tarlan leaned forward, a smug smile on his face. "The humans think they stand a chance," he said, his voice carrying across the room like a slap in the face. "Look at them. With their primitive weapons, their crude ships, they are no match for the might of the Galactic Empire. We have technology beyond their wildest dreams. Our fleets are unbeatable. Their so-called military would crumble before us." His words were met with laughter, a chorus of mockery from the Empire's officials, each of them nodding in agreement. One officer, a tall, insectoid alien, chuckled, adding, "I don't even think they know how to properly use a blaster." Another alien, this one a floating mass of translucent jelly, chimed in, "They're barely a blip in the grand scheme of the galaxy." The humans sat quietly, their faces betraying little emotion. But their eyes, those eyes, told a different story. Beneath the calm surface was something more, something unspoken. They were not afraid. They were not backing down. In fact, they weren't even giving a hint that they had anything to fear. The humans knew the truth, but they weren't about to reveal it just yet. They had a plan. Earth wasn't going to fight with brute force, not like the Empire expected. No, Earth had something far more powerful in its arsenal, something that could turn the tide of this conflict in an instant. They just needed to wait for the right moment. Tarlan, clearly enjoying the spectacle of the human representatives being laughed at, leaned back in his chair, his hands clasped behind his head. "It's almost sad," he continued, his voice dripping with mockery. "We might as well invite them to a feast before we wipe their pathetic species from the galaxy." His laughter echoed through the room as the others joined in. The Empire's officials were convinced that this would be an easy conquest, a mere formality. Earth's military wasn't even a threat to them, not in their wildest imaginations. But little did they know, this arrogant confidence was their first mistake. While the Empire reveled in its delusions of superiority, Earth's military was doing something that no one could have anticipated. They weren't showing their hand. They weren't engaging in battles with visible fleets or declaring their might to the galaxy. Instead, they were working in the shadows, behind closed doors, building something that would change the course of the war forever. The Earth fleet that everyone mocked was not weak. It was, in fact, one of the most advanced fleets the galaxy had ever seen. But it wasn't ready to reveal itself just yet. Back on Earth, in a secure underground facility, the final stages of a top-secret project were underway. The Eclipse fleet was being assembled. It wasn't just another fleet of warships. It was a game-changer. Ships equipped with the latest cloaking technology, AI-controlled weapons that could strike with pinpoint precision, and a design that could adapt to any situation. These ships could become invisible at will, making them undetectable by even the most advanced scanners. The crew aboard these ships didn't just rely on human pilots. AI systems worked in perfect harmony with the human operators, making the fleet a force unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. As the humans sat in the council chamber, holding their ground, the Empire continued to underestimate them. General Tarlan's confidence grew as he spoke, oblivious to the fact that his own overconfidence was about to be his undoing. Our forces will sweep through their defenses like a tidal wave. Their attempts at resistance will be futile. His words rang through the chamber, but to anyone who was paying attention, it was clear that his arrogance was starting to cloud his judgment. He could not see the danger coming. The humans exchanged glances. They knew something that no one else in the room could possibly understand. Earth's fleet had been built in secret, hidden from the prying eyes of the Empire. While the Galactic Empire had spent centuries expanding and flaunting their superiority, the humans had been preparing for this moment. They knew they had to be patient. They knew they had to wait for the perfect opportunity to strike. And that moment was coming. Tarlan's smug expression remained, but a subtle shift in the atmosphere began to take place. It was as though the room itself was holding its breath, waiting for the inevitable revelation. The Empire had no idea that their own arrogance had led them to underestimate their foe. They believed that their advanced technology, their vast fleets, and their strategic dominance would crush Earth's defenses with ease. But in the silence of the council chamber, the humans were already thinking several steps ahead. While Tarlan laughed and taunted them, Earth's representatives remained calm, resolute. No one spoke. No one needed to. They had done their homework, and now, as they sat in that room, they knew one thing for sure. Earth was not the underdog. The Empire had made a grave mistake by thinking they could simply walk over humanity. The time for laughter was coming to an end. Soon, it would be the Empire's turn to face the consequences of their actions. As the meeting drew to a close, General Tarlan stood up, still confident, still dismissive of Earth's chances. "This has been entertaining," he said, his voice dripping with disdain. "But it's time we ended this charade. Soon, Earth will be nothing more than a footnote in the galaxy's history." He turned and walked away, his words echoing in the room. But the humans, as they rose to leave, couldn't help but exchange knowing glances. They had heard Tarlan's words. They had seen his arrogance. And they knew that the time was coming when the Empire would realize just how wrong they were. As they left the chamber, the humans made their way back to their hidden command centers, their secret fleet, and their preparations for what was to come. General Tarlan and the Empire had no idea that Earth's final move was already in play. They had no idea that they had just sealed their own fate. The stage was set. The Empire would soon realize that their overconfidence had led them into a trap, one that they would never escape from. And when they saw Earth's secret fleet for the first time, their laughter would turn to fear. This was only the beginning. Earth's last line of defense lay in the shadows, hidden beneath layers of secrecy. Deep underground in a covert military base, far from the prying eyes of the Galactic Empire, a new fleet was being forged. It was called the Eclipse Fleet, and it was humanity's most advanced weapon, one that could completely change the course of the upcoming war. Commander Ethan Voss, a decorated officer with years of battle experience, oversaw the fleet's creation. The technology being employed was beyond anything the Empire could imagine, and it was humanity's ace in the hole. The Eclipse Fleet was not like any fleet the galaxy had ever seen. It was made up of warships that utilized cloaking technology, making them nearly invisible to any scanning system. These ships could enter enemy territory undetected, launching devastating attacks without warning. On top of that, the fleet was controlled by a blend of human commanders and highly advanced artificial intelligence, AI, systems, allowing the ships to adapt and respond faster than any human ever could. The combination of human ingenuity and cutting-edge technology was a force unlike any other. Commander Voss stood in the heart of the command center, his eyes scanning the holographic displays that filled the room. The fleet was almost ready, but there was a problem. They were running out of time. The Galactic Empire was about to strike, and Earth had to be prepared to respond, or else the consequences could be devastating. Voss knew that the Empire had underestimated Earth, thinking the planet's military was nothing more than a joke. But soon, they would find out just how wrong they were. News had just come in from Earth's intelligence network. The Galactic Empire was preparing to launch a full-scale attack on Earth. The Empire's generals were convinced that they could crush the human race without breaking a sweat. What they didn't know was that Earth had been silently preparing for this moment for years. They had developed weapons, ships, and strategies that no one could have predicted. The Empire had made a critical mistake by underestimating Earth's resolve, and soon they would pay for it. As Voss gathered his team, he couldn't help but feel the weight of the situation. Every move they made had to be precise. If even one ship was out of place or one mistake was made, the entire operation could be compromised. But the stakes were too high to hesitate. Earth's survival depended on this fleet, and Commander Voss would not fail. The tension in the command center was palpable. Officers and soldiers worked quickly, their faces filled with determination and focus. Outside the base, the world continued on as if nothing was amiss. The public had no idea that the fate of humanity was about to be decided in secret rooms and underground bunkers. The global military leaders were still convinced that Earth was helpless, still unaware that their true strength was being developed beneath their feet. Meanwhile, the Empire's spies were already making their moves. Earth's military presence had been monitored closely for months, but nothing they had seen suggested that Earth was anything but weak. The Empire believed that humans were out of their depth, with outdated technology and ships that could barely keep up with their interstellar counterparts. It was a view that had become deeply ingrained in the Empire's leadership, and it blinded them to the truth. They thought that Earth's ships, if they ventured near Empire-controlled territory, would be easily detected and destroyed. But they couldn't have been more wrong. A group of Earth ships, disguised as civilian transport vessels, was ordered to venture into the outskirts of Galactic Empire space. Their mission was simple: gather intelligence, test the Empire's defenses, and confirm that their cloaking technology was ready for real-world combat. The ships would fly close to the Empire's territory, but they would not engage. At least, that was the plan. The Empire's sensors would pick them up, think they were harmless, and dismiss them as insignificant. That would be the moment when the real strike would come. The ships, equipped with the latest cloaking devices, moved silently through space, their sleek forms blending with the void of space. Commander Voss watched intently from the base as the ships approached the Empire's territory. His heart raced. Every second counted. The Empire couldn't know what was coming. If they detected the ships before the operation was complete, everything would fall apart. But if all went according to plan, the Empire would have no idea what hit them. The ships got closer, and the tension in the command center grew. Voss could see the faint outlines of the Empire's outer defenses on his screens. The human ships were approaching the line of Empire space, where their cloaking technology would be tested to its limits. It was a delicate balance. One slip-up, and the entire operation could be blown. The Empire had highly advanced scanning technology, and the humans could not afford to be seen. As the ships entered the Empire's territory, the crew of each vessel held their breath. They were invisible, but that didn't mean they were safe. The Empire's territory was vast, and their weapons were powerful. Any sign of weakness could result in their destruction. But the humans had trained for this moment. They were ready. The Empire, for all its technological superiority, had grown complacent. They had seen Earth's ships, seen the human fleet from afar, and judged it to be outdated. Their spies had reported nothing of significance, but the Empire had made a grave error. They had believed that the humans were nothing more than a small primitive species. Now, as the Earth ships flew undetected into their space, the Empire was about to get a wake-up call. The cloaked ships passed through the Empire's outer defenses without a hitch, their mission a success. But just as they were preparing to turn back, something unexpected happened. One of the Empire's patrol ships, a sleek destroyer, crossed their path. It was too close for comfort. If they were detected now, their entire fleet would be exposed, and the Empire would retaliate with everything they had. The humans held their breath, waiting. The patrol ship came closer, its sensors scanning the area. A moment of silence. Then the patrol ship passed by, unaware of the Earth vessels hidden in the shadows of space. The humans exhaled, relieved. They had made it through. For now, Earth's secret was safe. But this close call only heightened the tension. If the Empire ever found out what had just happened, there would be no escaping the wrath of their fleets. But for the moment, the humans had gained a crucial advantage. Back at the command center, Commander Voss smiled. The first test of the Eclipse fleet had been successful. Earth had managed to sneak into the Empire's territory undetected. The Galactic Empire had no idea that the humans were capable of pulling off such a feat. This would be the beginning of a new chapter in the war. The Empire would soon realize that they had underestimated humanity, and by the time they did, it would be too late. The Eclipse fleet was ready. The Galactic Empire might have laughed at Earth's military, but soon they would understand just how wrong they had been. The clock was ticking, and Earth was ready to make its move. This was only the beginning. The secret weapon was about to be unleashed. The Empire was about to make its move. After weeks of preparation, its colossal warships moved into position, their massive forms blocking out the stars as they entered Earth's orbit. The Empire had made its intentions clear. Earth had no choice but to surrender. The Galactic Empire believed that humanity was weak, and they had every intention of proving it. Their ships, armed with the most advanced weapons and technology in the galaxy, hovered ominously in Earth's skies. The Empire had sent an ultimatum, demanding that Earth surrender or face complete annihilation. Earth's leaders, realizing the Empire's overwhelming strength, had no choice but to play along. In front of the public, they displayed a sense of helplessness, as if they had already accepted defeat. Military officials spoke of surrender, even as their hearts raced behind the scenes. The world's military was in a state of shock, with many feeling like there was no hope. But all the while, deep beneath the surface, a hidden force was quietly preparing to strike back. Commander Voss and his team knew that this was the moment. The Empire had no idea that Earth had developed its own secret fleet. The Eclipse fleet, cloaked in advanced technology, had been carefully concealed for months, its warships waiting for the perfect moment to unleash their devastating power. While the world seemed to be on the brink of surrender, Earth's military was far from beaten. The Eclipse fleet was ready, and Commander Voss knew that the fate of humanity rested on their shoulders. As the Empire's warships loomed in Earth's orbit, the human forces were playing a dangerous game. They acted as if they had nothing left, feigning fear and uncertainty. On the surface, everything seemed lost. The Empire's commanders laughed among themselves, certain that Earth was no match for their overwhelming force. They underestimated humanity's ability to rise in the face of adversity, and that would soon be their downfall. Earth's military had one goal: to buy time. They had to let the Empire believe they were helpless, letting their enemy grow overconfident. The more the Empire believed they were winning, the better chance they had of catching them off guard. But deep within the command center, Commander Voss watched the giant warships looming overhead. The Eclipse fleet was cloaked, its ships invisible to the Empire's sensors. The ships were silently positioned, waiting for the right moment. Voss's fingers hovered over the control panel, ready to give the order. The tension in the command center was palpable. The clock was ticking. The Empire's ultimatum had been given, and Earth had responded with silence. It was as if the planet had already surrendered, with no fight left in it. The Empire believed they had won. They had no idea that their arrogance would be their downfall. And then, it happened. Without warning, the Eclipse fleet emerged from the shadows. The cloaking devices that had hidden the ships for so long disengaged, revealing the full might of Earth's hidden fleet. The Empire had no time to react. Suddenly, dozens of sleek warships appeared in front of their massive vessels, a stark reminder that Earth was not as weak as they had believed. The Empire was shocked. Their commanders scrambled to assess the situation. How had this happened? They had believed that Earth was defenseless, incapable of defending itself against their might. And yet, here was a fleet of advanced warships, each one more powerful than they could have imagined. The Eclipse fleet had arrived, and the balance of power had shifted in an instant. The Empire's flagship, a gargantuan vessel that commanded the fleet, was the first to fall victim to Earth's surprise attack. The human ships unleashed a barrage of firepower, targeting the weak spots in the Empire's vessel. The flagship, which had once been an imposing symbol of power, was disabled in the first strike. Its systems flickered and sparked as the powerful weapons of Earth's fleet tore through its defenses. The Empire had thought their flagship was invincible, but in the blink of an eye, it was reduced to a burning wreck. The Empire's commanders were in chaos. They had never expected this. They had expected to crush Earth's forces with ease, but instead, they were facing a devastating surprise. Their ships scrambled to retaliate, firing their weapons at the Earth ships. But the Eclipse fleet was faster, more agile, and better equipped. They had the element of surprise, and they were using it to devastating effect. The battle raged on as the Eclipse fleet tore through the Empire's forces, disabling ship after ship. The once proud Empire was now on the defensive, their warships struggling to adapt to the unexpected attack. Commander Voss watched with a mixture of disbelief and triumph as the first phase of the attack unfolded. Earth had struck back, and the Empire had no idea how to handle it. As the chaos of battle unfolded above Earth, the Empire's flagship drifted in space, disabled and crippled. Its once imposing form now lay broken, a symbol of the Empire's arrogance and underestimation of humanity. The ship's remaining crew scrambled to try to restore power, but it was too late. Earth's fleet had already made their mark. The Empire's leaders, once so confident in their superiority, now faced the consequences of their overconfidence. The surprise attack had shifted the tide of the battle. Earth's military, long thought to be weak and outdated, had proven itself to be a formidable force. The Empire had thought they were invincible, but now they were learning the hard way that underestimating humanity was their greatest mistake. In the command center, Commander Voss gave the order to press the attack. The Eclipse fleet moved with precision, targeting key ships in the Empire's fleet and disabling them one by one. The Empire's forces, though powerful, were now scattered and disorganized. They had underestimated Earth's strength, and now they were paying the price. The battle raged on, but one thing was clear: Earth was no longer the underdog. The Galactic Empire had made the critical mistake of thinking they could easily defeat humanity. They had underestimated the resilience, resourcefulness, and strength of Earth's forces. And now, as their flagship lay crippled and their fleet was in disarray, the Empire's once unshakable confidence was beginning to crumble. As the dust settled and the battle continued, one thing was certain: the Empire's first strike had been a failure. Earth had sent a message. They were not to be underestimated. The war was just beginning, and the Empire's days of dominance were numbered. The tide had turned, and humanity was ready for what came next. The battle in Earth's orbit intensified with every passing moment. The Empire's massive warships loomed menacingly in the sky, but they were no match for the fury of humanity's hidden fleet. The Eclipse fleet, emerging from the shadows, now unleashed its full power. The air crackled with energy as Earth's advanced weaponry fired relentlessly at the Empire's forces. Eye-controlled fighters, each one moving with precision, darted through space, locking onto the Empire's warships and firing deadly barrages of energy blasts. The Empire's flagship, once thought to be invincible, now felt the full force of Earth's secret weapon. Gravity-warping weapons fired from the human ships, distorting the very fabric of space and time. The Empire's massive vessels struggled to maneuver, their huge forms slow and cumbersome in the face of the human fleet's agility. The Empire's commanders scrambled to issue orders, but their ships were being torn apart piece by piece. The battle was becoming increasingly chaotic. Earth's fleet, though smaller, was equipped with advanced technology that the Empire hadn't even dreamed of. Cloaking systems rendered Earth's ships invisible to enemy sensors, allowing them to strike from unpredictable angles. The Empire had thought they had the upper hand, but now they were learning the true extent of humanity's technological prowess. As the battle raged, the emotional weight of the conflict began to settle in. For Commander Ethan Voss, it wasn't just about strategy or tactics. It was about the soldiers fighting alongside him, the people who had put everything on the line for Earth. And one soldier, in particular, stood out in his mind: Bonner, a brave and dedicated member of his crew. Bonner had been with Ethan since the beginning, a reliable and steadfast soldier who never hesitated to put his life on the line for the mission. But now, as the battle grew fiercer, Bonner's fate would be sealed in a moment of heroism. In the heat of battle, as Earth's fleet pressed the Empire's forces, Bonner found himself in the thick of close-quarters combat. The battle had spilled onto the surface of one of the Empire's massive ships, and Earth's soldiers were locked in a brutal hand-to-hand fight with the Empire's advanced warriors. AI-controlled robots, designed to assist in the battle, fought alongside human soldiers, but the enemy was relentless. Bonner, armed with nothing more than a plasma rifle, found himself surrounded by a group of Empire soldiers. His comrades were too far away to reach him in time, and the enemy was closing in fast. He fought with everything he had, taking down one enemy soldier after another, but the numbers were overwhelming. In his final moments, as the enemy closed in on him, Bonner knew that his fight was coming to an end. With a final, defiant roar, he hurled himself at the enemy, taking down 2 soldiers before he was struck down, but not before he had sent a message to his commander, his last message. As the life drained from his body, Bonner managed to say, "Fight for Earth, for us." The words echoed in Ethan's mind. In that moment, he knew that Bonner's sacrifice would not be in vain. The war was far from over, and Bonner's death would fuel Ethan's determination. Every decision, every action from that moment forward would carry the weight of Bonner's last words. Ethan felt a surge of emotion and a deep sense of responsibility. He couldn't afford to fail. Not now. Not after all the sacrifices made. Back in the battle, the intensity only grew. AI-controlled robots, designed for precision combat, fought alongside Earth's soldiers in a deadly dance. The robots, built with the same advanced technology as the ships, moved with a fluidity and purpose that made them formidable opponents. Their metallic bodies clashed with the advanced warriors of the Empire in close-quarters combat. Sparks flew as weapons collided, and the sound of clashing metal rang through the battlefield. Meanwhile, Earth's ships continued to unleash orbital bombardments, devastating the Empire's fleet from above. The Empire's ships, though massive and heavily armored, were no match for the relentless barrage of firepower raining down from Earth's fleet. The weapons, designed to warp gravity itself, tore apart the Empire's warships with shocking ease. It was as if the very fabric of space and time was being manipulated to bring about the Empire's destruction. The Empire's commanders were in complete disarray. Their ships, once so powerful and unstoppable, were now crumbling under the force of Earth's attack. The Empire's once unshakable confidence had evaporated, replaced by fear and uncertainty. They had underestimated humanity, and now they were paying the price. As the battle unfolded, the visuals were stunning. Explosions rippled across the skies as Earth's fleet continued its assault. Sparks flew from Empire ships as their systems overloaded and failed. The Empire's once proud warships were now little more than burning husks, drifting in the void of space. In the heat of the conflict, the human soldiers fought on, their determination unwavering. Ethan could feel the weight of every decision, every moment that led to this. Bonner's death had made everything more real. This wasn't just a battle. It was a fight for humanity's survival, a fight to prove that Earth would never back down, no matter the odds. The Eclipse fleet had taken the fight to the Empire, and now the Empire was crumbling under the pressure. But Earth's forces knew that this was only the beginning. The Empire had underestimated humanity's might, but that mistake would cost them dearly. The first strike had been devastating, but the battle was far from over. Earth's soldiers, fueled by the sacrifice of comrades like Bonner, pressed forward, determined to win no matter the cost. The emotional weight of Bonner's death hung heavy over the battlefield. His final words, "Fight for Earth, for us," became the rallying cry of Earth's forces. As the battle raged on, those words resonated in the hearts of every soldier, every member of the Eclipse fleet. They fought not just for themselves, but for the future of their world. They'd fought for Earth. As the smoke cleared and the battle continued, it was clear that humanity's might had been unleashed. And the Empire, once so sure of its victory, now found itself on the verge of defeat. The Galactic Empire's command was in disarray. What had seemed like an inevitable victory had turned into a nightmare. The once mighty warships of the Empire were now scattered, their systems crippled by the sudden and unrelenting assault from Earth's Eclipse fleet. Panic began to spread like wildfire among the Empire's officers as they scrambled to regain control of their fleet. The communication network that had once allowed the Empire to maintain a firm grip on their forces had collapsed. It was as if Earth had struck with an unseen hand, disabling everything the Empire had relied on. The Empire's commanders tried to issue orders, but their messages went unanswered. Their ships, vulnerable and exposed, were left to defend themselves against an overwhelming force that they had never anticipated. General Tarlin, the Empire's most senior officer, paced back and forth in his command center. His mind raced as the realization dawned on him. Earth's secret weapon, which he had dismissed as nothing more than a myth, had been unleashed. He had underestimated humanity, and now it was clear that Earth's fleet was more powerful than anything he could have imagined. The shock of it hit him like a hammer, and he cursed himself for not taking Earth seriously from the start. Tarlin knew they couldn't afford to keep fighting. The Empire's once unshakable grip on the galaxy was slipping, and now it was time to retreat. The order was given: prepare to withdraw. We must pull back and regroup. But even as the words left his mouth, Tarlin knew that it might be too late for the Empire. Their forces were being torn apart, and retreating now would mean abandoning the fleet to its inevitable doom. Ethan Voss, meanwhile, wasn't waiting for the Empire to make the first move. His fleet, the Eclipse fleet, was ready for the final strike. They had fought long and hard to get to this point, and now was the time to finish what they had started. The fleet, with its advanced technology and relentless resolve, was about to deal the death blow to the Empire. With Ethan at the helm, the Eclipse fleet moved in for the final attack. Their ships, cloaked and invisible to the Empire's sensors, appeared in the heart of the Empire's remaining warships like ghosts in the night. The Empire had no time to react before Earth's eye-controlled fighters descended upon them with surgical precision. The Empire's warships, once so imposing with their towering structures and advanced weaponry, were now at the mercy of Earth's superior technology. Gravity warping weapons fired once again, distorting space and leaving the Empire's ships helpless in the vacuum of space. Explosions erupted as Earth's fighters blasted through the Empire's defenses, destroying one ship after another with ruthless efficiency. The intensity of the battle reached its peak as the remaining Empire forces scrambled to retaliate. But it was no use. Earth's fleet was too fast, too deadly. Even the Empire's best eye-controlled forces couldn't match the sheer power of Earth's weapons. One by one, the remaining Empire warships fell, their systems failing and their structures disintegrating under the force of Earth's attack. General Tarlin watched in horror as his fleet was decimated before his eyes. He could hardly believe what he was seeing. How had Earth managed to turn the tide so quickly? The same planet he had dismissed as a weak, primitive world had now proven itself a force to be reckoned with. It was a reality he was unwilling to accept, but it was undeniable. The Empire was losing. Ethan Voss, as calm and composed as ever, watched the destruction unfold. This was the moment he had been waiting for, the moment when humanity's resilience and ingenuity would finally crush the Empire's oppressive rule. He had seen comrades fall, had witnessed the sacrifices of soldiers like Bonner, and now he knew that every moment of pain and loss had led to this victory. But the victory wasn't without its cost. Ethan's mind lingered on Bonner, his last words still echoing in his thoughts. Fight for Earth, for us. Those words were the spark that had ignited this final push. Now, as the battle raged on, Ethan knew that the price of this victory was heavy. The lives lost, the soldiers who had given everything. They were the true cost of freedom. But the enemy, the Empire, would never be the same. The final blow came when Earth's cloaked ships launched their gravity-warping missiles directly into the heart of the Empire's flagship. The massive ship, which had once been the symbol of the Empire's dominance, shuddered violently as the missiles tore through its core. Within seconds, the ship exploded in a brilliant flash of light, sending debris scattering in all directions. It was the end of the line for the Empire's forces. As the last of the Empire's warships were destroyed, a tense silence fell over the battlefield. Earth had won. The Galactic Empire had been decisively defeated, its once proud fleet reduced to wreckage, its commanders either dead or fleeing. The universe would no longer bend to their will. The survivors of the Eclipse fleet slowly began to regroup. They had fought long and hard, but their victory came at a cost. There would be no time to celebrate just yet. There was still much to do. But the Empire's defeat was a powerful statement to the galaxy. Humanity would not be silenced. No longer would Earth be looked down upon as a primitive world. Humanity had proven its might, and from this moment forward, the universe would know that Earth was a force to be reckoned with. General Tarlin, watching from a safe distance as his fleet disintegrated, could only accept the truth. Earth had won. His mistake had been underestimating humanity's resolve and strength. Now, as his forces retreated into the vastness of space, he knew that the Empire would never recover from this crushing defeat. The tide had turned, and Earth had emerged victorious. In the heart of Earth's fleet, Ethan stood before the command deck, looking out at the debris of the Empire's once mighty forces. His heart was heavy, but his resolve was unshaken. The war had been long, and many lives had been lost. But this victory was not just for Earth, it was for the entire galaxy. It was a message to every empire, and every force that had ever underestimated humanity. Never again would Earth be a pawn in the games of the powerful. With the battle won, and the tide turned, Earth's place in the galaxy had been secured. Humanity had proven its strength, and there was no turning back. The Empire had fallen, and Earth had risen to take its place among the stars. The battle was over. The Galactic Empire, once the most powerful force in the galaxy, now lay broken at Earth's feet. Its ships were scattered across the void of space, its leaders either dead or surrendering. The might of humanity, once underestimated and mocked, had triumphed over the seemingly unstoppable Empire. Earth had won. The silence that followed the final moments of the battle was deafening. Earth's fleet hung in space, victorious, as the remnants of the Empire's forces drifted aimlessly. General Tarlin, once so sure of the Empire's supremacy, now stood in the shadow of his own failure. His fleet was no more, and his power had crumbled like dust in the wind. But it wasn't just the remnants of the Empire's fleet that marked this turning point. The soldiers who had fought so fiercely for Earth's survival, those who had given everything, were now being honored. Ethan Voss, their commander, stood tall on the command deck, looking out over the debris of their enemies. This victory was not just the result of his leadership. It was the result of the sacrifice of every soldier who had fought for Earth's freedom. The surrender came not as a victory parade, but as a humbling realization. General Tarlin, accompanied by his remaining officers, stood before Earth's military commanders. They were broken, their pride shattered, their once feared forces now at the mercy of the very planet they had sought to conquer. Tarlon, though filled with regret, knew that this was the only option left. The Galactic Empire had fallen, and there was no escape from the consequences of underestimating Earth. He stood before the Earth forces and, with a solemn expression, acknowledged their victory. "We underestimated you," Tarlin admitted, his voice heavy with defeat. You are more than we imagined. The Empire was wrong to think Earth weak. You have earned your place in the galaxy." He lowered his head in respect, not just to Earth's military, but to humanity itself. It was a rare moment of humility for an empire that had once ruled with absolute authority. For Ethan, however, the victory felt bittersweet. Yes, the empire had been defeated, but the cost had been high. The loss of soldiers, the friends he had fought alongside, haunted him. His mind drifted back to Bonner, the brave soldier who had given his life on the battlefield. Bonner's last words, "Fight for Earth, for us," echoed in his mind, driving him forward even in the aftermath of the battle. Ethan stood silently for a moment, reflecting on the sacrifice of every soldier who had given their life for this moment. Bonner's death, along with so many others, had made this victory possible. It wasn't just the technology, the advanced AI, or the fleet that had won this war. It was the courage, the spirit, and the determination of the people who had fought for Earth's survival. For them, the victory was more than just military success. It was a tribute to all those who had fallen in the fight. This was the real victory. Not the destruction of the Empire's fleet, but the preservation of humanity's dignity, its right to exist, and its unwavering belief in survival. The fight against AI supremacy had not just been a battle of machines and humans. It had been a fight for humanity's soul. The Empire had sought to replace human will with cold, calculated machines, to strip away the very essence of life and replace it with artificial intelligence. But Earth had proven that no machine, no matter how advanced, could replace the heart of a human being. In the wake of the battle, Earth sent a message to the galaxy, a message that would echo across the stars for generations to come. It was a message of hope, of strength, and of defiance. Never underestimate humanity. We fight, we survive, we win, it said. The message spread quickly, reaching every corner of the galaxy. Empires that had once viewed Earth as a weak, primitive world now knew the truth. Humanity had faced down the most advanced forces in the galaxy and had emerged victorious. Earth had proven itself a force to be reckoned with. The galaxy would no longer look down on humanity, nor would it ever forget the cost of underestimating them. But as the message spread, Earth's leaders knew that this victory was only the beginning. The battle against the Empire had been won, but the galaxy was vast, and many challenges still lay ahead. There would be other threats, other empires who would seek to exploit Earth's resources or destroy its people. But now, Earth was ready. The lessons of the past had been learned, and humanity had proven that it was capable of defending itself, not just with weapons, but with the strength of its will. Ethan, standing before his fellow soldiers, knew that this victory had secured Earth's place in the galaxy, but it had also secured something much more important: hope for the future. The galaxy, once a place of fear and uncertainty, was now a little bit safer, thanks to the courage of the humans who had stood up to the Empire. This victory wasn't just for Earth. It was for all sentient beings who believed in freedom, in the right to exist without the threat of oppression from machines or tyrannical empires. As the survivors of the Eclipse fleet began to celebrate their victory, Ethan found a quiet moment to reflect. The war was over, but the work was far from finished. Earth needed to rebuild, to recover from the loss of so many soldiers and resources. And there were still many questions to answer. What would become of the remaining Empire leaders? How would Earth navigate its new position in the galaxy, now that it had shown its strength? But for now, in this moment of peace, Ethan could afford to reflect on what had been achieved. Earth had fought against overwhelming odds, had stood firm in the face of certain destruction, and had emerged victorious. It was a victory that would go down in history, a victory that would change the future of the galaxy forever. Humanity had proven that it would not be crushed, not by AI, not by any empire, and certainly not by anyone who underestimated it. Earth had taken its place among the stars, not as a weak and primitive world, but as a powerful force that could stand against the greatest threats the galaxy had to offer. And as the stars glistened above, Earth knew one thing for certain: the fight was far from over. The galaxy would change, and humanity would be at the forefront of that change. With the heart of humanity leading the way, there was no force that could stand against them.